They said she was finished, broken, reassigned to the shadows of the armory. But when 6 of Falcon 3's finest were cornered in the Zahara Highlands, Raina Vega didn't wait for orders. She took her rifle and vanished into the mountains. What happened next shattered every rule in the manual. From 1720 meters. Shots so precise they looked impossible on paper ripped through the night and rewrote the battle's fate. The legend born that night would stalk the Black Banner insurgents for years. Quick pause, tell us where in the world you're watching from. And if these stories hit you like a recoil to the chest, hit subscribe. Tomorrow's drop. You won't believe who walks into the crosshairs. At Camp Iron Cliff. The comms room was chaos. Falcon 3 going dark, pinned. No eyes on shooter. The feed was a blur of panicked breaths and gunfire. Falcon 3, 6 operators deep, were boxed in by jagged cliffs, taking fire from 3 elevated positions. Their exits were gone, their snipers down, and death was closing in fast. Then, silence. For half a heartbeat, a single thunderclap of a rifle echoed across the valley, on the eastern ridge. A machine gunner crumpled, weapon clattering into the dust. 10 seconds later, another shot, another flawless hit. Falcon 3 froze, scanning the darkness, until the radio came alive with a voice they'd never heard before. Phantom 7 active. Overwatch in place. Stand by for window. Where are you watching from? Soldier sound off in the comments with your location. Let's see how far our formation stretches. If this mission's got your pulse up, lock in your support. Hit that subscribe button to Stories Unseen, so you're in the fight for the next op. Tomorrow's drop, a classified mission reveal you do not want to miss. 18 hours before that first impossible shot. The woman now called Phantom 7 was just another shadow in the back of Camp Ironcliff's armory. At least, that's what everyone thought. Raina Vega moved between the weapon racks with the quiet precision of someone who'd done this 1,000 times. At 39, she didn't cut the kind of figure that turned heads in a room full of hard-edged operators half her age. Her left hand trembled faintly as she adjusted the black carbon fiber wrap at her wrist, advanced neurostabilization tech for a nerve injury no one here asked about. And she didn't offer the story. To most. She was background noise at tech, keeping their rifles zeroed while they did the real fighting. Private Liam Knox, fresh out of sniper school, watched her work with the smug curiosity of a man who'd never been tested. Looks like they'll let anyone touch our rifles now, he said loudly, grinning toward his buddies, even old ladies who can barely lift 'em. Vega's eyes shut for half a breath, not from hurt, but the learned patience of someone who'd survived far worse than words. Her fingertips moved over the Huntsman LR-50's receiver with a kind of muscle memory that doesn't come from a manual. The doorway filled with the frame of Major Elias Cross. His gaze caught Vega's movements, controlled, exact, yet edged with the kind of hyper-awareness that's hard to fake. "Vega," he called, his voice carrying a weight the younger soldiers didn't notice. "Need you to run scope alignments. Falcon 3 is wheels up tonight." Knox smirked as Cross left, then leaned toward a teammate. "You know what I heard? She got sent here because she couldn't cut it in a real unit. Probably got people killed." Vega's hand froze on a rifle, knuckles whitening. Something cold lit in her gray eyes, the calculation of whether this was worth a fight. She set the rifle down, turned to face him. "You're right," she said evenly. "I did get people killed. 3 of them Torres, Malek, Vance." Want to hear how the room fell silent? Knox held her stare, still trying to bluff. "Sure, tell me your sob story." Vega rolled up her sleeve, revealing a forearm crisscrossed with scars. Not random, patterns, coordinates. These marked the forward base of the Black Banner, weapons caches, and where they buried captured soldiers. "I carved them into my skin with shrapnel while chained in a cell for 48 hours. That intel triggered the largest covert strike of 2031. 52 enemy gone. 4 POWs walked out alive. But I was 3 minutes too late for my own team." Major Cross's voice cut in from the hall. "That's enough." He motioned for her to follow. As they walked the corridor, Cross glanced at her more than once. You didn't have to tell him that. No, Vega agreed. But he's deploying into the same sector where my team died, if that story knocks the arrogance out of him. Maybe he lives. Cross slowed, studying this small woman with trembling hands who had outlived what destroyed so many. Your file. It mentions Shadowlands. I've seen that designation twice in 20 years. Vega's gaze didn't waver. Shadowlands never existed, she said quietly. And Cross knew exactly what that meant. Once. She'd been the youngest marksman in the most secretive sniper unit the military never admitted existed. Tonight, she was about to break every rule that kept her alive. At 26, Raina Vega was recruited into Shadowlands after a sandstorm shot in Al Kharif saved an entire Marine platoon from 1420 meters. They called her Spectre 1 back then when her hands were rock steady, her hearing flawless, and she still believed skill alone could keep a team alive. Now, in the dim light of Major Elias Cross's office, he laid it out plain. Falcon 3's op tonight. It's too clean, too perfect. Feels like bait. Vega's eyes narrowed. It matches the same pattern from Zahara Highlands, the one that took my team. Cross slid a tablet across the desk. Mission parameters glowed on the screen. No evidence, no authority to change a thing. But if someone here monitored it, someone who knows how to read the signs, I'll need access to long-range comms, she cut in, and someone to dust off my old gear. As the sun fell, Falcon 3 boarded their birds for a straightforward infiltration of a suspected Black Banner command post. In the hangar, Liam Knox quietly double-checked his rifle, the cocky swagger from earlier nowhere in sight. In a forgotten corner of the comms building, Vega powered up equipment most operators didn't even know existed. She unlocked a personal hard case inside, the matte black Huntsman LR50, 3 small notches on its stock, each one a name she'd never stop carrying. Her eyes swept over intercepted chatter. The anomalies were there if you knew how to look signal bursts that didn't match terrain interference. Troop movements just too well timed. It was the same fingerprint she'd seen before someone had set the board. And Falcon 3 was walking right into the kill box. Vega slung the LR50 over her shoulder, the weight both familiar and final. If she was right. By the time Command figured it out, Falcon 3 would already be dying. She keyed her headset, voice cold and steady, Phantom 7 moving to position. Command said wait. Falcon 3 didn't have that luxury, so Raina Vega made her own rules. Euro 2, 47 hours. Vega flattened herself into a natural rock shelf she'd picked from satellite imagery the night before. It was a sniper's dream stable rock bed. Overhead cover, full view of the ravine, yet invisible from every approach. She slid a laminated range card from her chest rig. 3 blood-red X's marked priority targets: FAC, Comms Rig, MG East, MG West. Her Huntsman LR50 purred to life fused MWIR, LWIR thermal overlay. Laser rangefinder feeding data into a ballistics solver. Numbers scrolled in the corner of her vision: 1782M to MG East, 11MS crosswind from the west. Humidity 68%. Elevation drop 272 meter. Through the glass. The battlefield wasn't chaos, it was a chessboard, and Black Banner was in check. They just didn't know it yet. Her first shot wasn't for glory, it was for control. Ironcliff's signals team had been sweeping the valley all night. Now they pinged a spike bearing Euro 85. The thermal image confirmed it, a crouched figure with an antenna jutting from his ruck. Heat blooming steady from a small amplifier pack. The man keyed his radio. Mic hot. Vega's cheek pressed to the stock. Slow breath, trigger squeeze. The subsonic crack was swallowed by the mountains, but the effect was instant. The man and his rig toppled. Comms net collapsing into overlapping shouts and broken code. 40 seconds later, she pivoted MG East, the feed hatch, not the gunner. A rectangle of steel lit white-hot from sustained fire. 1 round. The hinge exploded in sparks. The ammo belt snagged and detonated in its own chamber, belching brass and smoke. Down below, Sergeant Dane Mercer saw the window open. "East gun down, move now," he barked. Falcon 3 poured toward the only gap in the kill zone. Vega worked her craft with the patience of a scalpel cut. She wounded when killing was easier. She destroyed optics instead of skulls. She made every shot seem like it came from somewhere else, angling off rock to distort muzzle reports, spacing intervals to mimic multiple shooters. Enemy fire lost its rhythm, devolving into isolated bursts. The machine gun on the western ridge swung wildly, unsure which threat to prioritize. And then, hubris betrayed them. The Black Banner commander strode into the open, shouting orders, profile outlined in muzzle flash. Vega's world narrowed to crosshairs. 1905M, hold half a mil into the wind. Inhale, pause, press. The man folded midward. The valley went silent for a heartbeat, then broke into chaos. Leaderless. Insurgents began fighting for their own survival instead of the plan. Falcon 3 surged uphill, Vega carving away threats before they could get a bead. For 20 minutes, the battle became a deadly duet, her rifle dictating the beat, their movement dancing to its rhythm. Bodies dropped out of sight lines, guns fell silent, not from mercy, but from mechanical ruin. Phantom 7, this is Falcon 3 actual. Nearly clear. Confirm extraction. Mercer's voice crackled. Her eyes scanned the thermal overlay. Negative on primary. Take the south ridgeline. I'll cover. She didn't add what the map already told her. 16 QRF fighters were converging on her position from 3 separate draws, closing the distance fast. Falcon 3, be advised, enemy QRF is coming to me. You've got 6 minutes of clean air. Make it count. Vega cinched her sling, slid fresh rounds into the mag, and stood into the wind. Then, in the darkness, she fired again bright. Deliberate muzzle flashes inviting the hunters straight to her, and vanished into the mountains. Falcon 3, you've got 6 minutes of open sky, use it. Raina Vega didn't wait for thanks. She was already sighting her next target. Mercer's reply was instant negative. Phantom 7. We don't leave people behind. Her voice cut through, steel wrapped in finality. You've got 10 minutes to hit minimum safe distance. After that, the Zahara Highlands will light up. The Huntsman LR-50 sang 4 more times, each shot intentionally flashing in the darkness, a beacon to every Black Banner fighter within range. By the time the first shapes crested the ridge less than 150 meters away, Vega was already on the move, leaving the rifle behind, a warrior's farewell to the weapon that had done its last duty. What followed was an hour-long hunt through black stone gullies and jagged ridgelines. Vega drew the quick reaction force farther and farther from Falcon 3's route, trading concealment for speed, firing just enough to keep them chasing. By 0400 hours, Falcon 3 was at their extraction point, every operator alive, in the cargo bay. Liam Knox sat pale and silent, hands trembling around his rifle. "Who is Phantom 7?" he asked. Mercer stared into the night as the helicopter banked away. "Don't know, son, but they just traded their life for ours." 48 hours later, a recovery team reached the site of Vega's last stand. 9 enemy bodies lay scattered over 250 meters of rock and shale. Empty casings from multiple weapons told of a fight that refused to end quickly. Blood trails marked where she'd been hit and kept moving, at her original hide. The Huntsman lay exactly where she'd left it, scope still perfectly zeroed. Beside it, a folded sheet of waterproof paper, covered in cipher. When decrypted, the code revealed detailed intelligence, Black Banner supply caches, movement routes, and staging points across Zahara. At the bottom, in plain English accounts balanced, Shadow's mark. Back at Camp Ironcliff, Major Elias Cross stood in the now empty armory where Vega had spent countless silent hours. Knox appeared in the doorway, no longer the brash rookie who'd mocked trembling hands. "The intel checks out," he said quietly. "Every position, every source." She mapped their whole network, While she was in here, Cross nodded once. She never stopped being an operator. Corporal. She just found a different way to fight. The record would list Raina Vega as missing in action, but in Zahara's mountains. Black Banner survivors began whispering of a phantom marksman who could kill from distances no man dared dream. They called her the Mountain Spirit, a guardian that haunted every ambush site. Before every mission, Knox began a small ritual no one questioned, checking his rifle one extra time and murmuring, "For Phantom 7. It spread, quietly, through the special operations community, a salute to an unseen protector. And, sometimes, on encrypted frequencies no one could trace, short bursts of intelligence still arrived, eerily precise, signed the same way Phantom 7, still watching.